Hello and welcome to all of you astrology friends. Welcome to this monthly horoscope of March of 2025. And when I was preparing this month of March, I was thinking like, how on earth am I gonna give the explanation for the collective? I mean, the introduction of these flavors and what's the flavor of the month of March without losing myself in the detail. Because there's so much that is happening in the month of March. It doesn't mean to say it's going to be a bad month or a good month. It only means that there's a lot of shifts going on within us, and that's reflected in this astrology for the month of March of 2025. So I'm going to have a look at what's going on in March, and then for each and every sign of the 12 signs, we're going to have a look a little bit deeper to a couple of things. We're going to talk about the retrogrades because we're going to have and the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde. Mars is going direct already at the end of February, but these two planets now are going backwards. Then we've got, of course, it's eclipse time as well. So we have two eclipses happening, one in Virgo, one in Aries. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then last but not least, a very big, huge planet, which is called Neptune, is shifting signs. And it's shifting from Pisces into Aries. So that is a lot. But again, what I'm going to do is not getting too much into the detail and the nitty gritty and all of that, but give you the overview of all of this so that we have a little bit of a, you could say, synthesis, because that's what it's all about, these March horoscopes. So first of all, let's start with the retrogrades, because they happen in the sign of Aries. It's all Aries, by the way. Aries, 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 Aries. And it's in the spotlight for sure. So Venus is going retrograde in Aries on the 2nd already of March, depending where you live, sometimes the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. Around the 2nd of March, Venus is at 10 degrees of Aries going backwards. And it's going to do that retrograde in the sign of Aries up until the 27th of March, right? Then it goes back into the 29 degrees of Pisces. So it's almost the whole month of March that's going to be in Aries. On the 13th of April, Venus will go direct again not in Virgo, in Pisces, right? But I want to emphasize on that Venus in Aries going backwards and still in the sign of Aries. So in April, I'm going to talk about the other stuff. So and when will it be back in Aries? It's around the 1st of May. It's going to be back in Aries. So a long time that Venus is going to spend in that beautiful sign of Aries. And another thing about this Venus retrograde is that it's kind of special because on the one hand, you can say, yes, Venus in Aries and definitely a retrograde. It's always a reassessing. Venus is love. And Aries is the sign of the I am, you know. People who've got, look at people with Venus in Aries, men or female. They have that boldness, you know, when they are a female, they're a bit like a tomboy. They're a bit more dressed like, you know, they're not, they're a bit more fierce. They're a bit more bold. They want things yesterday. And the same for a man with Venus in Aries. They will love women who are expressing that, who are very independent, who do their own thing, who decide. You know, some men, they don't like that. A man, for instance, with Venus in, let's say, in Taurus or Venus in Pisces, they will prefer a woman who is a bit more yin energy. It's not better or worse, it's just different. Yin energy, which means that she will, you know, be a little bit more magnetic rather than active, right? Because Venus in Aries is ruled by Mars. So I know that in the books, Venus in Aries, it's in its detriment and whatnot. But the thing is, Venus expresses itself in a different way, period. It's therefore not worse or better, or it's nothing like that. It's just alternative. It's an alternative way of expressing Venus. It's very enthusiastic. It's very a bit like a child, right? It gets enthusiastic very quickly, and it gets angry very quickly, but it's quickly over as well. It's driven. It's spirited, so to speak. Very fiery, very fierce. So we all have Aries in our chart, right? We all have Aries in our chart. And we all have that aspect of that enthusiasm and wanting to pioneer, wanting things to go forwards, and wanting to be and to take space. Remember, Chiron is in Aries as well. Now, what is so special about this Venus retrograde is that we are going to reassess that area of our life that has to do with all these characteristics and that has to do with a certain area of our lives. But that Venus, whilst it goes retrograde, it will touch Neptune and the North Node a couple of times. It already did, in fact. So we've got like the very fierce Venus in Aries that wants to go for it, go, go, go. And then we've got the super, super sensitive when Venus will go retrograde, and at the 27th of March, it will be in Pisces again. It's like the opposite. It's like the super yin, super romantic, super empathic, gentle, healing energy of Venus with Neptune and North Node. Actually, we already have had that energy around the 2nd of February. Venus was already touching Neptune and the North Node. The North Node is at the very end of Pisces. And it's going to do that again around the last week of March and the last week of April. We're going to feel more that Piscean kind of Venus, right? It's like two opposite. And what is the story of this Venus retrograde? It's very simple. We will, in the area of life, we will want to make changes, fast changes, a bit like impulsive, because that's what Aries is all about. It has no patience. It wants to do, and it doesn't think. It does, and to the extreme, of course. I'm not going to say that all Aries people or Venus in Aries people are like that. No, we are more than just our Venus. But particularly, this is typical that we are going to have in March that, whoa, hold your horses kind of energy. Because on the 2nd of March, Venus goes retrograde. So in that area, we want to go forward. We want to be bold. We want to be enthusiastic. We want to, it's future oriented. It's not turning back, Venus in Aries. But now it's like, oh, hold your horses, reassess. So we all have something, an area in our life that we want to be very straightforward and go for it and whatnot, and very active as well, very enthusiastic, very courageous, this is the path and I'm not going to look back, but it's Venus retrograde. So, and it's a good thing. It means that, hey, it's reassessment time. Are you sure? Or maybe you are sure, but there needs to be some things here re-evaluated. And what? Well, the things that we love, the things that has to do with Venus, which is love, which is beauty, money, balance, all these good things in life. So we got to reassess. And then when Venus goes direct in Aries again, right? Now, I'm not talking about now Venus in Pisces, but Venus in Aries, we are going to go bold and we are going to love, and we're going to what we love, we're going after it in a very direct way now and no turning back, right? And that is on the 1st of May, the end of April, the 1st of May. Venus goes direct and stays there in May. It gets out of its shadow on the 20th. Venus gets out of its shadow. That means reaches the point again of 10 degrees of Aries on the 16th of May. You see? So this is a simple story of, yeah, we want to go for something, but we're not ready yet. And that's okay. It's okay. It's just that, oh, I have to fine tune, I have to reassess, I have to do, and so on. It's nothing more, nothing less. We can go for something, we can go for a relationship, we can go for a job, we can go for a project, but things need to be reassessed. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And guess what's happening? In May, this is really the time of blossoming. This is really of a lot of enthusiasm, and being very secure as well, right? Venus in Aries going forwards there. So that's it. And it's tipping into the sign of Pisces for a bit, for a reason, right? But that's for April. But that energy is more like contemplating, nurturing, soul contracts that we're having with people for sure, with the Venus, with the North Node there, and looking for healing as well. So I think that we are going to go after what we want for sure, and that's around May time. But first we need some healing work to do. That's in a nutshell. That's in a nutshell the Venus retrograde. We need some healing work to do. We need to reassess something. Do you really, really love it? Think about why you love it and see it a bit broader, Venus with Neptune, see it a bit broader in the bigger perspective. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Mercury is joining the club because Mercury will also be in Aries. And guess what? It's also going retrograde. So it's going to do that a bit later on the 16th of March. And guess at what degree? At 9 degrees of Aries. So if you've got planets in Aries around 9 to 10 degrees, you can say from 7 to 12 degrees of Aries, you're going to feel this. You're going to feel this massive slowing down. And Mercury is a bit different. It's the speech. We are used to this, right, Mercury? Because Venus goes retrograde maybe once every 2 years. But Mercury goes retrograde a couple of times in the year, 3 times, sometimes 4 times. And it's one of those times now. Mercury is speech and communication. Aries is, again, fierce speech, honest speech, say it as it is. No, like Mercury and Pisces, like speaking in riddles every now and then. It's really direct, but it's the retrograde. So it's like, oops, watch your tongue with the Mercury retrograde in Aries. It's like, oops, around the 16th of March, around that time specifically, from let's say the 10th to the 18th of March, it is a time of watch your tongue, watch what you're saying. And a lot of people will say too much and then regret it because of the retrograde, right? But it's so fired up, and it's not taking into consideration anyone else. That's Aries. And that's why it gets fired up. Like a child, it's like just emotional. And it acts on its instincts. And again, that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it shows here that we will take a step back and think of what we said, or think of the information that we received. It depends on where this Mercury, this Aries area is in your life. But there's definitely, these Venus and Mercury are going to travel very close to each other in the retrograde. So it's like really, really reassessing stuff and really, really thinking again about, if we think too quick, what are we missing here? What are we missing out? Because it goes in Pisces again, the Mercury that is, on the 31st of March. And it goes direct again on the 8th of April. It will be then at 26 degrees of Pisces. So also this Mercury is going back into Pisces, right? And touching the North Node, the Neptune, and so on. At 9 degrees of Aries, again, will be on the 22nd of April. So that is what we call it's out of its shadow. So this is a bit of a shorter period, but still a very interesting one. Now, guess what? So, okay, we already know that Aries, it's very easy to explain when I'm doing the 12 signs in a bit, because it's all happening in that one sign, which is called Aries. And it's not just that. It's not just Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. That's already a lot for a month. It's also eclipses. And guess where one eclipse, it's the last one that is going to happen in that sign? Yes, exactly. It's going to be in Aries. And guess at what kind of degrees it's going to be? Exactly. We're going to have an eclipse at 9 degrees of Aries on the 29th of March. So it's the very end of it. It's a new moon. So it will be the sun and the moon together at 9 degrees of Aries. And it's the last one of that. You could say, but Veerle, I don't understand. The North Node is in Pisces, and now you're talking about the eclipses are going to happen in Pisces, right? And not in Aries. Well, it is the last one because it's the sun and the moon at 9 degrees of Aries, which is quite close to that south node that is already in Pisces. I know astrology is complicated, but it is what it is. Just remember, it's the last one in Aries that we're going to have. The other eclipses are going to be in Virgo and Pisces. So there is like this new beginning because it's still with the North Node. We know that eclipses and specifically new moons with the North Node, it's new starts. It's new. It's like a new start in that area of our life that is Aries. And it's not only that we are going to rethink that start, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And there's new opportunities, new connections, new paths, and it's a lot about fate as well, because eclipses, they are dealing with fated events. They are dealing with things that are ready for us. And the North Node is our future. It's like a bit of a Jupiter energy. So it's expansiveness and we can tap into that. And then we can grow tremendously. We can grow into the positive sides of Aries, which is, I take space, for goodness sake. It's all about that. It's you taking space and you being very much you. That's very Aries-like, you know. And a lot of people think that that is a bad thing. Of course, I'm not saying about expressing yourself and harming others. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is when you're going to express yourself, your raw self, because Aries is raw. It is what it is. What you see is what you get. That is Aries energy. It's very honest as well. Very fair and honest Aries. That's why people who've got a lot of Aries energy in them, they do a lot of times when you've got charts of lawyers and or people who are doing things in the legal stuff or in the how do you say that, in the union and so on. They want to be the voice of people. It's a lot about honesty as well, and about fairness and truthfulness and honesty. And so yes, it's a choice of, we are invited here to be who we are. That's it. That's it. This month of March, is it going to have consequences? Of course, especially for these people who want that so much and who, because of a part of them not being healed, they are hiding themselves. So I think that March, there's a repondering, and April, there's a healing energy for sure, because of all that Piscean energy that we're going to have as well. And I think first parts of us need to be healed before we can progress, before we can go further. Because if you're dealing with a person who has, like everyone else, the right to be happy, the right to be joyful, the right to be who they want to be, and they are hiding that because of circumstances, because of the fear of rejection. People are not going to like me anymore. If I'm going to choose for this, if I'm going to choose for this person, my parents won't like it. If I'm going to choose for that profession, all my friends are going to leave me because they think it's bull, and so on. So there's lots of fears while we are not being who we are. But if we are healed or if we are healing, it doesn't really matter, because we know that if we express who we really are, if I'm suppressing, for instance, that I'm an astrologer, right? I give you the example of me doing the astrology. I know, again, this is not about talking about myself, but it's easy. It's easy. I rather not like to do that, but anyway, it's easy to explain because let's say that for the longest time, right, I worked for a company and I didn't express that I liked astrology because I knew Not that these people that I was surrounded with were bad, my colleagues and whatnot, but I just knew that's not their cup of tea. I was in the midst of very rational people. Again, that's okay, but it's simply not my people. Why? Why was I in that situation? Because I wasn't expressing it. The moment I expressed the passion that I had for astrology and the passion that I had to open up the eyes and to open up people's consciousness, because that's what it is, doing astrology, the moment I did that, the moment I tapped into that real Veerle, or a real part of me, of course, there was still a part of me that was very rational, interested in economy and whatnot. But the moment I opened up to that, I started to attract people who were a bit like me as well and who liked the astrology. And yes, those other people, some of them stayed, a very few, and some of them did not. But that's the healing part. The healing part is if you're healed and if you're true to yourself, you know that some people will like it and others will not like it. And that's okay. That is actually normal, right? It is what it is. And it has nothing to do with you being bad or them being bad or no. It's just like you're not aligned. You're not aligned with them. And as soon as you get that, which is the healing process that's going to occur with this Venus retrograde and with these eclipses and whatnot, because there's going to be another eclipse as well. Talk about that in a minute. You know, you are more expressing you. And guess what? You focus on that part, and other people are going to just, find that very normal too. If you find it normal, others will find it normal too. And if not, that's okay. You don't focus on that. That's not your people. It's the same like when a person falls in love with someone and falls in love with a person that doesn't see them. It doesn't mean to say that they're a bad person or you are a bad person. It's just not aligned, period. It's as simple as that. And there's millions and billions of other people that are matching better with you. And so it's a lot about that healing process. Like the person that falls in love with a specific person has some healing work to do, that you don't have to match another person. It's just happening naturally. And that is way stronger. That is what Aries is all about. It's nature, it's instinct, it's visceral, it's almost a bit animalistic. You could say Venus in Aries is very fired up and it's very, it's not going to hide. It's like an animal. It's not going to hide how it's feeling, right? If it's going to be hurt, it's going to sit there very quietly. If it's enthusiastic, a dog is going to do this with the tail and this. You see, it's all very simple. That's the beauty of Aries. It's very simple sign. And it's not the complicated Venus in Scorpio, for instance, which also has its value. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that is good and that is bad. So what is it in your life that you need some healing work to do so that you can express that area of your life where Aries is in a more authentic way, in a more real way, in a more fresh way? Because remember, Chiron is there as well in Aries, which is the wounding of the being, wounding of existence. I exist. You've got people who enter, if you have a party, for instance, and it's in a cafe and it's a birthday, you watch people coming in. There's people who come in like that. There's people who come in like that. That's an overdoing, isn't it? But it's happening. And then there's people coming in like that. Right? And I'm talking to both of these people, actually. I'm not talking about the people who come in and who just are being. They are who they are. They know some people will like me, some not. I am who I am. I am who I am. As in the song. And these two people, the first ones that came in a bit too much and a bit too little, there's some healing work to do. You are who you are. This is the juiciness of the sign of Aries. You are who you are and express that. Again, You know, we always have to get the balance between the two opposite signs, which Libra and Aries. It's not about, it's my way or the highway and I'm working with my elbows like this. I'm not talking about that. You know what I'm talking about. So, three things happening in Aries: the Venus, the Mercury, the eclipse. Another thing, Neptune also. Neptune also at the very end of March, the 31st of March, the 1st of May, it's going to enter Aries. Talk about that more in April. But that means a big planet like Neptune, who has been for years and years and years in Pisces, now shifts into also Aries. So the planet of the Neptune planet represents crossing boundaries and opening boundaries and empathy and healing and the arts, and inspiration and spirituality is going to be in the sign of Aries. So Aries, we want to do things with that spirituality. We want to do things with that connection. We want to be active around it. So we're going to see way more spirituality, especially in the day-to-day life, being very, very active. I can't put it in other ways. It's going to be more active. It's going to be, because Aries wants to go. Neptune wants to break open. So a lot of people will want to become more, you could say, it's like it makes me think of what is it in the tarot? I think it is the Nine of Wands. It makes me think, again, I'm not a specialist in tarot. Those of you who are watching this, who know a lot about tarot, comment what you think. That Neptune in Aries, is it a bit like the Nine of Wands? Because I know that some people understand more things in pictures, and it's about that wounded warrior. It's like the wounded healer as well, and it's in Aries. It's about existence. I like that Neptune in Aries a lot. So that's going to shift as well in the sign of Aries. So, and last but not least, let's not forget that we're also going to have an eclipse in Virgo. And this is at 23 degrees of Virgo. It's a lunar eclipse. And that's going to be the lunar eclipse is going to be on the 14th of March. So that will be with the South Node, though. So this is about stepping away from those Virgo energy qualities that are no longer serving us. You don't want to step away from the good signs of traits of Virgo, like, being analytical, being discerning and being of service. No, you want to step away. We all have an opportunity here already, starting with these eclipses, to step away from that Virgo energy of perfectionism, of nagging all the time, the nitty-gritty, the detail, and you get lost into it. Oh my goodness, me being a Virgo myself. Oh. I'm glad the South Node is there, because so often I can be just like blinded by the little light of a detail. And then you lose perspective. We don't want to get there. So it's time to let go of that. When eclipses happen with the South Node, in this case, it's about letting that go, letting go of that perfectionism. And because it's holding us back. So a lot happening, right? All in all, this is life, isn't it? There's always something happening. But now it is a bit a lot. It is a bit a lot. Now, by the way, these eclipses, they belong to the Saros cycle 9 New North, for the nerdy astrologers around you. And that one as well, that if you want to know more about the Saros cycle and so on, there's an astrologer called Bernadette Brady. She's got a book that really explains this very well. I always go back to that book to see what's with the original eclipse of the Saros cycle New North. And this original eclipse is about Venus and Mercury conjoining. And it's about, I think of the song of Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical. Let's get physical, physical. It's really about that. It's getting into our bodies. It's the contact with the body. So a good thing that with all these eclipses, with all this Aries energy, is to get active. And if you say, but Veerle, I'm ill and I can't move my legs or whatever it is, move what you can move. Move. Because that can help all this fire energy, right? It can help to kind of direct it in a way. So that we are not going to be having those negative energies of Aries, which is, getting angry very, getting very emotional very quickly. And anger because things are not happening our way is a typical Aries thing. And then we get headaches. Again, the head, Aries. So you want to avoid that. That is a tip for dealing with this. Move a lot. Do some dancing, yoga, whatever it is for you, walking, and do it systematically or do it consistently. That's going to help these energies to move across us. Right. Are you prepared now? Let's get into the 12 signs. Not too long because we know what's happening. It's all Aries and we want to look at the area of life where Aries is, and I'm also going to have a look where Virgo is because of the South Node and the eclipse there. Okay. So Aries, well, the whole intro is for you, I guess. It's Aries time. It's Aries time. So if you have your sun in Aries around those degrees, you'll feel it has to do a lot with your identity. It has to do a lot with who you are, your ascendant, your life path, everything. Your moon, like me, having my moon in Aries, it's more about your emotions, how you nurture yourself and how you show the truthfulness of your emotions, even if it's vulnerable. Moon in Aries doesn't really like that, to be vulnerable, but there's like a strength in that as well. So you want to change a lot this year, and it's going to start here in March. And but it's reflection time, remember, with all of these retrogrades. And at the beginning of the month, there is this eclipse with the North Node. So there's a new you emerging here. There's a new you emerging for sure. And get ready because it's exciting. It's super, super exciting. There's a new you arising for sure. I don't want to elaborate too much about this. And where to need to let go of is the 6th house. So with the South Node there in Virgo, so it's bad habits. You want to let go of that. Maybe a bad habit can mean that you eat too much crap, whatever it is. Or maybe because you don't do exercises every single day. Or maybe you smoke too much. Everything that has to do with your health, your mental health, your physical health, and that is not okay, you're not doing it anymore. Or maybe you're doing too much being in the gym, right? So that's not good either. Too much of everything is not good. And so you want to do something in the lifestyle that is not good to eliminate that. It's a very good time to do so. Taurians, all this energy in your 12th house. Ooh, that is the unconscious house, remember? The 12th house. So people are not going to know. They're not going to know. That's maybe a good thing. I don't know. I don't know if that is a good thing. Because Venus in the 12th house can, not always, can represent secretness around relationships or around, it can even be thoughts because Mercury is there as well. So you're going to think a lot about love, that's for sure, but you're going to do that in isolation almost, right? And of course, some people, they will feel love that is not good to show, Venus, Mercury in the 12th house. And so you're going to see what happens there. But what also can mean, so it's not for all of you that they're going to be secret affairs and whatnot, no. For some of you. For some of you, in a good way, this Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, it's the house of contemplation. It's the house of going within. It's the energy of reloading the batteries, to think about what's going on, to think about your values, to think about your goals as well, because it will go retrograde in Pisces in your 11th house in April or the end of March. You're going to have eclipses there as well. So it's all, and North Node eclipses. So there is like a huge, huge emphasis on you taking care of your blind spots and you understanding them. So actually doing something active, which is Aries, around maybe family constellations, understanding your roots, understanding your hidden patterns, you would do a good thing there. Some therapy, some meditation, and but doing actively, right? Doing some maybe yoga as well. It will help you to understand yourself better, to because the things that you do that are not good for you, to eliminate that. And also in a good way, this could mean that you do things for people, that people are in need. You know, Venus in the 12th house, it is about helping those who are in need, but discern who's really in need, and you will be able to do that because of all the other stuff that is going on, like with Uranus in your sign and so on. But this is definitely a time of getting to know yourself better by the blind spots. So if people are telling you stuff that you say, huh, be very aware of digging a little bit deeper and exploring, because that's going to help you with battling your patterns that are no longer working for you, basically. And the Virgo house is where the South Node is in the 5th house. It's about you stepping away from an old way of an attitude around love. So that is a bit Virgo-like. That is a bit, I want to be too perfect in love. That kind of attitude. It's not working anymore. And to step aside from that, because it's doing more harm than it's doing you good. So you want to step away from those energies that has to do with love, a love attitude that is not healthy, right? So the smothering or the avoidant attachment style, you want to dig deeper why that is happening. That has to do with your own worth. And you want to renew that anyways with Uranus in your sign. So very beautiful stuff happening there for sure. And also the Neptune in the 12th house is going to help you. Well, it's reflecting that you're going to get more in touch with the divine anyways. Geminis, all massive energy in your 11th house. And Aries goes well with Gemini. It's a sextile. So for you, it's rather positive energy flow. And notwithstanding the fact it's a retrograde. So keep that in mind always, always. So the Venus retrograde there, the Mercury retrograde in the 11th house of friends, friend circles, goals for the future. It's important for you to reset them, to look at your friendships, to look at what is good, what is not good, what are you doing well, what are they not doing well, or they are doing well. Reevaluation of that. Maybe your social, you're going to skip Facebook. You're going to close it off. Or maybe you're going to start it. Whatever it is, there is shifts there, new beginnings there. For people who have their own businesses, this is fantastic with an eclipse there. This means new growth, income, because it's the 2nd house from the 10th house. So new opportunities here. And definitely stuff here to go broader with like-minded people. If you're someone who's doing like with groups of people, and so you can take the lead here, and this can grow very fast. So it's a very, very auspicious house. It's a very positive house, and you could meet someone, or a friend can come back as well. There could be a friend coming back and a rekindling of that. For sure. Now, the Virgo energy of the letting go is in your 4th house, where this energy of uh, letting go with the south node, this eclipse that is happening there. It's like the letting go of an old way of how you emotionally kind of react, and you now want to respond and not react anymore. There is like this whole stepping away from that, and over analyzing when it comes to your emotions and so on. You want to step away from that. And there's an opportunity here with this energy for sure. Neptune in your 11th house, it's going to, the friends that you're going to attract, the organization that you're going to attract, they're going to be fiery still, but a bit more Neptunian, which is more in the spheres of artistic, maybe artistic people, people who are spiritual, that kind of vibe. Very beautiful. Cancerians, especially if you have planets around 10 degrees of Cancer, 9, 10 degrees of Cancer, you're going to feel this Aries energy a lot. And it's in a square, so it's tension. But it's to change something. And to change what? The top of your horoscope. It's the 10th house. It's for a lot of people their career. If you say, Veerle, I'm 77, I don't have a career anymore. It's about how you present yourself in the world, your energy that you exude, what you want to bring in to society. It's also your parents, right? So there is like new energy there, rethinking. For a lot of you, it will have to do with a career, of a new career, a more bold one, a more, with Neptune stepping into that house as well, also a more spiritual career, a more career of, and if it's even not spiritual, if you say I'm an IT specialist, then even more to do something for the collective. That's very Neptunian. So a lot of rethinking. So don't think that you've got all the solutions. Now the solutions will come for sure. And especially also new opportunities when it comes to career. Also with the parents, there are shifts happening. There are transitions that they are going through. Your attitude around your parents as well. There's also, because it's your social status, so there could be shifts there as well. You know, from the person who's got no kids to the person who's got kids, from the person who's divorced to the person who's going to have a new relationship, from the person who is in a relationship to the person who divorces. You know, depending on your story, there's a shift in social status as well. Now, to step away from is the third house, where the eclipse of the Virgo eclipse is happening on the 14th, or around about the 14th of March. So you want to step away from that overanalyzing. That is the Virgo in the third house. You want to step away of that, of overanalyzing, of wanting to perfection your speech, or you want to do everything perfect. The more you will try to force that, even the more risk you are going to have to be misunderstood almost, right? So it's a lot about your thoughts, and to let the logical way, to step a little bit aside from that and to go more towards, seeing things in a bigger perspective. Leos, this is beautiful for you, dear Leos, because all of this Aries energy, it's a fellow fire sign. We call that a trine in astrology. Excuse me. So even if everything goes backwards, which is Venus, not everything, but Venus and Mercury in your 9th house, it's a good thing. And you will see that and experience that as well as more positive, because it's a trine energy and with the eclipses there. So what could it be? It could mean that you are revisiting the idea of studying, revisiting the idea of publishing, revisiting the idea of travel, revisiting the idea of, because it's Venus, a love abroad, or falling in love abroad, or connecting with someone from abroad that you used to connect with. That kind of energy. But it's like, or you could simply do, study something that you already studied in the past and you pick it up again. Or you are going to edit a book, a blog, a vlog, whatever it is. There is new energy there. There is, it's a beautiful thing because the ninth house is that house of belief, your belief system. So you are examining your belief system. There is a reassessing of that, and it's to improve you and to make choices easier in your life. Now, this eclipse in Virgo is in your second house. So what is it with the South Node? It's a good time for you to declutter, period. Declutter. If you can, declutter and make space for new energy. Make space for trust in other people's values, in other people's um, resources as well, and get rid of your own who are no longer um, serving you, right? Whether it is books, whether it is clothes, plates, cups of coffee, whatever, declutter. And it's stepping away from that old kind of way that you attach yourself to stuff, basically. Virgos, let's start for you with the eclipse, right? If you've got planets around 23 degrees of Virgo, you're going to feel the eclipse mostly. And because it's in your first house, right? And it's about the South Node, so it's about letting go. So what is it for you? The part that you want to let go of, that part of you that is no longer suiting you, that part of you that is too much of the Virgo, which can be the too much of perfectionism, the too much being of service, and especially with this Aries energy, which is the opposite thing. It's about me, me, me. So it's a good time for you to shed off skin, to shed off old identities, to focus more on the new you, on your new identity. But first, things need to go. What is the life path that you don't want to be associated with anymore? The lifestyles and whatnot that you don't want to be associated anymore. Good energy for letting that go. And all that emphasis on the eighth house, which is the house of transformation. So a lot of healing, a lot of transformation for you happening. Venus, Mercury in the eighth house. It is a house that is it's really a bit hidden, right? So people will not know what you're doing with that Venus, Mercury in the eighth house over there. It's thinking about love and it's talking about love, but it's an inner talk and it's in the eighth house, a transformation. Stuff could be happening behind the scenes as well with this Venus, Mercury in the eighth house. Can go about intimacy. It can mean a new love. Can mean affairs as well. I mean, I'm not judging here, but it's more in a way of with this eclipse there that there is a new start with what I call intimacy, right? It's not just sexuality, it's more than that. It's just being your true self and sharing that with another person. And it's like being naked, literally, but also spiritually, emotionally, and that vulnerability over there. It's like a new start, a breakthrough. On another level, this can also mean you attracting money that you are not doing yourself an effort for. So the eighth house is the house of money of others, right? Or a tax return. I hope for you. I hope tax returns, inheritances. Maybe your spouse is getting a promotion or a bonus, and that's because Venus is attracting. It can have to do with that reassessing um, and investments and so on. That's going to take some time. So at the end of April and beginning of May, off you go. You can start with that new empowering energy because you feel supported by others, by other people's resources as well, which is a beautiful thing. Librans, so important for you. So important, especially if you have Libra planets around 10 degrees. Wow, you're going to feel this. You're going to feel this with all this Aries energy. So this is all about your connections, your relationships. They are turning into something better. Something better. And if they're already good, well, an upgrade. Why? Because of this reassessment. Venus and Mercury in the seventh house do mean that you want to connect with others, that you want to understand others, that you always want to do that because you're Libra. But now even more, but there's a reassessment. So if you are in a relationship or not, it stays the same, that energy. If you're in a relationship, it's someone that can come back, or it's a person that you kind of reassess now. You have another idea of them, and you're viewing them in a different way, for better or for worse. It doesn't always have to be worse, right? Because we astrology, we also always say, oh yes, you know them, and then events happen with the Venus retrograde, you don't like them anymore. It can be the other way around as well. You might not like them so much, and then they show their true self, and you say, oh, I was wrong, I didn't see that part. I'm going to review that person, and because that's an honest thing to do. So I hope that is for most of you. But whatever it is, and if you're single, there's definitely someone there that is catching your eye. And this could mean a new relationship for sure, particularly with the North Node there, that eclipse, that last eclipse. That is like fated partners attracting business partners, attracting romantic partners for sure. So there's a lot of new energy coming in for you when it comes to relationships, which is nice because you Librans, you want to relate, you want to connect. And it's a lot about that balance between being real in a relationship. Because that's what Libras are all about. They want to connect, and they want to take into account other people's feelings, but they also want to be authentic. So it's almost like they mirroring it, or people are mirroring that to you. So if you're connecting with a person, Venus Mercury is very beautiful in the seventh house. It's a beautiful person, handsome person, a person that can communicate quite beautifully. Venus Mercury, even though it's in Aries, which is a bit bold, but it's beautiful. So true conversations. What is the conversation that you need to do in order for you to make shifts? It's time for that, for sure. Neptune coming into the seventh house. Oh boy. Oh boy. That means that the vibe of people that you're going to attract is going to be different. It's going to be a bit of a Neptunian vibe. It's not good or bad. It's at its best. Very soul connections. People who are more Neptunian, who are more helpers, empathic people, artistic people. And the challenge is going to be that you don't want to see what you want to see, right? That you don't want to be blind for the things that are also there in that human being and that you don't want to see. That's it. Many more to come, but I'll explain that in April. And the 12th house, where Virgo is, there is the South Node there. So there is a huge opportunity for you to step away from old patterns, to step away from almost invisible patterns that you've detected over the months, the years, the weeks in your life, and that you say, I'm done with that. I'm done with that pattern that is actually not healthy for me. A good time to do so. Good time to stop smoking, stop whatever it is that you don't like, and that is detrimental for your health. Scorpios, all this energy in your sixth house. There's Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Neptune stepping in there in the sixth house, Scorpios. So your day-to-day routines, your day-to-day life, if it has been quite structured, the news is it's not going to be that structured anymore. Or maybe it's going to be smart, structured in a natural way. You know, like the forest. When you go into the forest, it's typical that people who don't know the forest or who are walking there, they see like it's all chaos. But when you look deeper, there is like an order in the chaos. I see it a bit like that, your day-to-day life, your day-to-day routines. It's more Neptunian. So try to, if you can, of course, it's just the start of this Neptune in your sixth house, but if you can, to be a bit more fluent with the structure of the day-to-day life, to be a bit more Neptunian towards also your health, which could be like you're going to do a bit more yoga, a bit more meditation, that kind of thing. But also Venus and Mercury going backwards and forwards in your sixth house. So that could be because Venus rules your 7th house. It could mean love in the area where you work, or there's a reassessment of that, or there's a reassessment of your work anyways, your day-to-day life, the work that you do. But it's Venus and Mercury. It's nice planets to have there, but there's something that you want to do different. And you're going to see that when these planets go direct. Watch the intro when that's going to be. So a huge emphasis on your lifestyle. So it's a good time for you, especially with the eclipse happening there as well, to go towards a more fiery, exciting, different lifestyle. And what does that mean for you? If I'm talking here about those lifestyles, what does it say? What do you think of when I'm saying that? I don't want to fill it in for you, but what do you think of that lifestyle? Do you think of, oh yeah, sleeping out a little bit longer? Or in the morning, I just want to take a little bit more time for myself. All these kind of things, these shifts of lifestyle, it's possible here. You've got the South Node in Virgo, with the eclipses in the 11th house. This is the stepping away from friends that are no longer matching you. It's not the bad friends or you are the bad friend. No, it's no longer matching you. You can let them go. Stepping aside from goals that are no longer suiting you. Maybe you always had the goal to do this or that, and now you're realizing it's not good for me anymore. It's not working. I'm going to let go of that goal. Can be very refreshing, isn't it? Very beautiful. Sagittarians, what an emphasis on your 5th house. What an emphasis on a light-minded fire house. Not light-minded, but it's what we call in astrology a trine energy. So all these things happening in Aries is going to be good for you, especially if you've got planets around 10 degrees of Sag. Amazing, because all this energy, even if it's backwards and forwards, it's trining your energy. So it's the Venus and the Mercury in that 5th house. It's the North Node. It's the eclipse. Let's talk about that. At 10 degrees in that 5th house. So, wow, what an opportunity for you to enjoy yourself, to do lovely things, to fall in love, to attract new love, to attract a new attitude towards your children if you already had them, to bring in children if you want them, to express yourself in a new, bold, fresh way. This is exciting. This is you doing things that you love, hobbies that you're gonna redo. Maybe you did horse riding when you were younger, and now you're gonna pick that up again. Maybe you did dancing when you were 7 years old, and you're gonna pick that up again. Whatever it is, as long as it's active, because it's in Aries after all, and as long as it's giving you joy, to go for it. It can also be writing Venus, Mercury together, but it's really writing about activities, writing a very active book, a very passionate book. And so falling in love is possible here. If you already are in love, it's about expressing that, showing that. It's so good. If you are working in the performance world, it's so good to perform, so good to get on stage. But it's also so good to reassess what you like, to reassess what you love to do, to reassess what your heart's. I'm reading it. I just read a book, Kokoro. Read that book. It's about the expression of the heart, you could say, of the soul. Read that book. It's about that. Kokoro. Ikigai, all that kind of Japanese wisdom there. Interesting books. So yeah, it's getting fired up. It's getting fired up. It's feeling young again, so to speak. Now, and Neptune there. Neptune in the 5th house. Neptune entering the 5th house is, if you would have a kid around that time when Neptune is in your 5th, it could mean a Neptunian kind of child, a very gentle, empathic, spiritual, lovely kind of artistic kind of child. Neptune in the 5th can also mean that when you're single, for instance, you're going to attract a bit more Neptunian lovers, which is again artistic, soulmate kind of energies, but also like not so easy to pinpoint them. So watch out for that you're not just seeing what you want to see. That's the only challenge there, you could say, of Neptune in your 5th house. Can mean also very expressive in your creative endeavors, right? It's a bit more Neptunian in the world of the glamour, the world of fantasy, the world of television, films, books, and whatnot, creativity as well. So it's about expressing that more through your 5th house. Now, the South Node with Virgo is in your 10th house, and that is the top of your chart. The 10th house, first of all, is career. So for those of you who are in a career, there is a part of it that you want to let go of. So for some of you, it is like, yeah, get rid of the career and a new one. For others, it's an attitude towards career. You could be stepping away from a certain attitude around your career. Maybe you always wanted to be, and it has to do with the Virgo traits, like overdoing, like over being of service, like overdoing the fact that you wanted to be so perfect. Again, you might think of going a bit more towards the nurturing of your emotions rather than fully go for the career. Again, it's about balance. Don't get me wrong here. These eclipses that are happening, it's not about just neglect the career and go for the family. No, it's like rebalancing this out again. On another level, you say, I don't have a career. I'm maybe you are a housewife, or maybe you are just taking a pause now, whatever it is for you. This means your social status. So there could be a shift there of your social status. So from the one that was having a divorce to someone who's now being single and happy, or for someone who's in a relationship that is not going well to a divorce, or for someone who's got no kids to kids, or so that not married into marriage. So the social status can be shifted when the South Node is there, and it's a stepping away of an old identity of yours, because the midheaven is a second ascendant, so to speak. It's also parents, so there is a shift there in their life. There's also a stepping away of something, and in a transition happening there as well. Capricorns, people who've got planets around 10 degrees of Capricorns, you're going to feel this a lot in a tension area. Why? Because all this Aries energy squares up to your energy, and all this Aries energy is in your 4th house. So there is a creation of tension there in order for you to get more real into that area of your life. And what is that area of your life? Literally, it's your home. So for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, this is selling and buying a new home, right? With the eclipse as well, the North Node there. So it's going for a new home. It's going for a new place of living. But it's also, because it's the 4th house, it's going for new nurturing. It's going for a reassessing of what you get nurtured from, your emotional state. And it's from looking within. And so it's like almost gaining more safety within yourself, feeling more safe. And when you have that, when you're rooted in that kind of energy, excuse me, it is huge, because then you can conquer the world, so to speak, if you feel rooted. And that is a process, because you're going to feel this very much going forwards around the end of April, beginning of May. But meanwhile, you're reassessing your emotions, you're reassessing your reactions, you want to respond rather than to react in an instinctive way. You're going to work a lot around that. You're going to work a lot around your ancestry and understanding where you're coming from and healing of that, because you've got Chiron there as well. Neptune will step into that area as well of Aries, which is a lot about your home environment, to make it a bit more Neptunian, to make it a bit more Zen, if you like. To put a little bit in a little example, to put a bit of candles. I've got some candles here, right? You put a little bit of a candle there. Um, I've got these lovely, not real candles who are not lighting on now. But anyway, you see, to make it a bit more soft, gentle, yin energy, so that you can rest and that you can have peace. Or maybe you're going to move to the water side, Neptune coming into the fourth house. It's also a letting go of ancestry, a letting go of, on the one hand, to be rooted stronger, it's of a letting go of the past and the connections and all of that. It's not like cutting off. No, 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 no. It's a dissolvement. It's like natural. Remember, it's in Aries. And you've got that eclipse in Virgo in your ninth house with the south node. And Virgo goes well with Capricorn. It's a trine. So this is about a stepping away of old dogmas that are no longer working for you. Maybe you always thought that, yeah. Maybe you always thought, oh, you have to work hard for the money. That's how people are getting money. Maybe you're stepping away of that. Maybe you're going to concentrate a little bit more on your home, and you're going to see in that state you can also attract money, but in a different way. That these are examples of you stepping away of old belief systems and letting go of that. Aquarians, this is nice because Aries and Aquarius, that is a sextile. So this is nice energy for you. It's in the third house. It's going to be very busy for you. My goodness me. With the Venus and the Mercury retrograde, going backwards, forwards, in that house of the third house, and the eclipse and the Neptune there, it's a full house in the third house. Third house is a house of communication. Let's start with that. So lots of communication, lots of thinking, because Mercury goes retrograde there as well with Venus, lots of thinking about love as well. Lots of new ideas, reassessing your thoughts, your logic around love. You're going to reassess it. Is it correct or not? Maybe, I hope for you, you're going to receive a lot of love messages, or maybe give them as well. And you could say give them after the Venus goes direct, and check out the intro when that is. Because otherwise you might come back to what you've said. But anyway, it is what it is. In a very good way, this if you have your own business, this is a PR house. So this is the time to re-edit your website, or to do a new website, to do new stuff for marketing. You can have the best businesses and the best competences, but if people don't know who you are, they don't know about you, you're not going to have business, right? So it's the sales department, so to speak, of when you have your own business, that third house. It could be clients that coming back, with the Venus retrograde, with the Mercury retrograde there. Of course, you could go do short trips, and it is always said Mercury in the third house is not good for short trips. Well, use it in a good way. Go back to a place you already have been. That's also Mercury retrograde. So, or just know that there can be some, whilst you are traveling, that you are, and short trips, that is, because that's associated with the third house, that you're going to think about stuff again. That you're going to reassess. So thoughts will come up whilst you are traveling and doing those. So a lot of back and forwards, you going to meetings and whatnot. So that busyness is very interesting for you Aquarians. It's also this fresh new reassessment with connections, like, because it's a social house, connections like siblings, connections like neighbors, people in the neighborhood, people that you school, people that from school, or people from your work, people you see on a daily basis. Those people, there's new developments there. And with the eclipse, it means like new energy. Maybe you're gonna learn something new, yeah? But it's rather a skill than something really, you could say, rather than the master degree, it's more something like you're learning how to drive, you're learning how to knit, you're learning how to cook, you're learning how to, learning a skill, basically. You're learning how to drive fast cars, Formula whatever, Francorchamps. Why am I thinking about that? Because it's in Aries, right? It's in Aries. So your social circle, that could be coming a more exciting energy there, and I think you're gonna like that. Neptune in the third house means more gentleness, anyways, coming in with your speech, with your, so there's an interest in spirituality, or that could grow with Neptune coming into your third house. So you speaking more or getting more messages that are a bit more abstract, a bit more spiritual. On a challenging level, it is like there could be a little bit more like misunderstandings. But if you are exuding that positive energy of Neptune, like gentle speech, not too harsh. I know it's Aries, but Neptune is a bit gentle there. If you are tapping into that energy, the chances you're going to receive that same energy is bigger. And the South Node and the eclipse with Virgo is your eighth house that is highlighted here. So it's a stepping aside of the eighth house. It's a stepping aside. It's almost like a stepping aside of fears, because the eighth house is an imaginative fears. In Virgo, it's a lot of mental energy. So you could be stepping aside or tackling those mental fears, those imaginative fears, and working on that and letting them go and go more towards the second house, which is your talents, and to work on them, to improve them, your confidence, and to work on what you value a lot, and not so much taking into account the advice of others or the value of others. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's just not the moment now to put more focus on that. And last but not least, Pisceans. So you are having all this energy, dear Pisceans, in your second house of worth, self-worth, self-confidence, your talents, your assets, your money, your the feeling, the value of yourself. So there is definitely reassessment here. With the Venus and the Mercury going retrograde, it can mean that you're going to improve your financial situation, that you're going to improve how you get money, how the hustling for the money, how to do that in a different way, how to improve that, maybe via a financial advisor. Or first, it can get a little bit tricky here because of the retrograde. So that might be something that comes up that you don't like. But the reassessment, if you're going to do that and if you're going to embrace that, you will have a better financial situation when Venus goes direct, especially in Aries at the end of April, beginning of May. Also, Neptune comes in the second house, which is a bit of a weird thing. And I'll tell you why. Because the second house is a Taurian house, which is very real and down to earth and planet Earth and 3D world. It's a lot about our material stuff. And then Neptune comes in. And it's there not to, the misunderstanding of Neptune in the second house is people think I will have to get immaterial. I will have to get non-material here. I will have to give everything away and not, no. It's about not having that attachment. Absolutely. But what I've seen many, many times with people getting Neptune in the second house, that the more they detach themselves from material stuff, the more it comes to them. So let you be that person that you can attract, basically by saying, I'm going for my Neptunian talents. I'm going for my talents for, because the second house is the house of talents as well. I'm going for that Neptunian vibe of what can I do for the collective and being active. And then when I express myself in that authentic way, the money comes in. So that is the spiritual shift that is happening there with your modern ruler Neptune stepping into that second house. You're also going to have an eclipse there in Aries, so that shows a new beginning and a lot of growth possible. So if you are hustling for the money, if you are working around and putting positive focus and energy around, uh, my confidence, my talents, my resources, they go up, 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 and I work on a day-to-day basis. This is amazing for you. Now, in the seventh house is where you're going to have that eclipse of Virgo. So if you have planets around 23 degrees of Pisces, you will feel that eclipse more. But every Piscean will feel that eclipse of the seventh house, and it's with the South Node. So it's a stepping aside of something that relates to your relationships. So this could be literally, if you have been saying like, yeah, it depends on your situation. You know your situation. If you say, yeah, this was about relationship and this is not working anymore, this is a stepping away from that. And this is because you have changed so much. On another level, this could also mean meeting someone karmic, someone from past lives, so to speak. Although I think we always meet people, I think. But that's for another story. What do you think about that, dear Pisceans? Do you think that people that we meet that are significant for us, that they are always fresh and new? I don't think so. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that there is possibility for new relationships as well. There is possibility for also for stepping away of reaching out too much to others, chasing others, trying to be someone. The Piscean, it's the chameleon amongst us. They can be everyone. And it's a stepping away from that and to be more your authentic self. And you're going to have so much energy in April in your sign with the Venus, the North Node, and also that transition, you could say, of the Venus and the Mercury going back into your sign. But that's more for the end of the month and for, you could say, the April. But focus on your belongings now. Focus on your self-worth, work on that, and you will see that there's going to be a lot of healing for you available. A lot of you kind of dissolving um, old patterns and old wounds, so to speak. Because Chiron is in your second house, which is about healing the wounds around self, healing the wounds around I belong, but I'm worth it. Beautiful. Anyways, this was a long video, but I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you want a reading, you want to donate, check out the link below. Go to my website if you haven't done already. Thank you so much for listening and all the best for March. Bye-bye.